they just present stuff. And if you get stuff,
Thank you. And would one of you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you.
Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And next, we'll go ahead and have any public input for items not on the agenda. So if anyone from the audience wants to speak on an item not on the agenda, there are speaker cards available in the lobby to be completed and give it to staff. Do we have any?
We have no public comment.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and move to consent items. All items listed under consent agenda will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless requested by a member of the Planning Commission, staff member, or member of the public. There will be one public comment period for all items on the consent agenda. And then do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? No. Approved. We'll move on to item 6, public hearings. 6.1, a resolution approving minor subdivision 2026-02 for the Los Pinars apartment complex located at 1561 and 1603 Cushman Street. And we're ready to hear the report.
doesn't want to do it. We can go to the next one. Yeah. The map before you is the Los Pinars apartment complex. It has not been constructed yet, but it is approved by the planning commission and it is in for building permits. I think their building permits have been issued. It's located at 1561 and 1603 Cushman Street. It's part of a larger residential development that was approved back in 2013, and there were some subsequent approvals and extensions from there. The project is a subdivision of the apartment complex to allow for financing. The subdivision is consistent with the mitigated negative declaration that was adopted for the entirety of the Los Pinars residential development. This subdivision doesn't confer any additional units. It's merely a subdivision to allow for financing. The apartment complex, if it's constructed, will add much needed rental housing to the city. And the proposed subdivision complies with the municipal code and has been reviewed by the city's DRC. Even minor subdivisions such as this one, per our code, do require planning commission approval. So that is why it is before you tonight, and staff is recommending approval as proposed. And so for this one, you have our standard 4 options, but staff is recommending that you do approve the minor subdivision as proposed.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
So this was CEQA exempt. I saw it in the documentation.
It's not CEQA exempt because CEQA was done for the larger project, but this subdivision falls within that project because we're subdividing an approved project. So there's no additional development. There's no additional land area being disturbed. So it falls within the approved mitigated negative declaration.
And that's back from 2013?
Mm-hmm.
And it still applies?
It still applies, yes. Any environmental document applies to the project.
Even with the current issues we're hearing about the sewers, the infrastructure?
Yes, because what happens is when a project gets approved, whenever it gets approved, that becomes a baseline project. So this project has been approved since 2013. These apartments have been approved. And the impacts related to the entirety of the residential development is always planned for in the subsequent projects because it's a known project. So any CEQA document that comes right after this, 10 years after it, 20 years after it, as long as this is still a project, you're counting it in as your baseline factors. Because if I approve 20 projects tomorrow, and I do a CEQA document for number 21 and don't factor in the other 20, let's say in terms of water or traffic, that doesn't make any sense. You want to know, now that we've hit 21, what does 21 do? What does project number 23 do? So we continuously stack on what those environmental impacts are for every project in every subsequent review.
Should we do questions now or do a public comment and then we can continue to?
It's up to you.
Let me just ask one more clarifying before public comment. Just so that in very simple terms, in 2013, how many were approved and what is the difference now?
There's no difference. Okay. The only difference is we're drawing some lines on a map to subdivide it so they can get financing. Okay. They need to have property lines so that they can use that property to finance the construction of the other property. It's a financing thing that we've seen more often now in rental housing, and you've seen it a couple times now where we're subdividing the apartment buildings on a parcel so that they can use each parcel to fund the construction of the next parcel. And that's what most builders are doing now to finance construction. It's rare that we're seeing an apartment complex on one lot. They are subdivided.
So it's for financial.
It's just for financing. This is not giving us any. I could build tomorrow without this subdivision, but they need it to finance the project. If they didn't have it, they're unable to finance it and get it constructed. If that makes sense.
You mentioned that it was I want to keep it brief, but you mentioned that it had to do with it being a rental property.
This is an apartment project, and so they're not for sale, so it's a different type of financing. So typically what we see is if this one is 4 buildings, we see each 4 gets its own property, and the banks will finance the individual properties. I'm not a financial lender. I don't understand the whole thing, nor do I go out and get financing, but this is not unusual. We're seeing this more and more. The extension you had for 4th and Graph, I think in May, they have the same scenario with the 4 lots for the buildings to allow for financing and phased construction.
Let's go ahead and open for public hearing at 6:08. Do we have any public comments?
Ann Hall.
Good evening. My name's Ann Hall. I'm with San Benito Engineering. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. We have no requests for changes. We're happy with what staff has put together. I'm really just coming up to say that I'm here and the applicant is here if you have questions.
Any other public comment? Online?
We have no public comment.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 6:09 PM. And do we have further comments and questions?
I think we've already had this item come before us. And yeah, I think we got information on. So I think we had questions then, but I think those got answered.
Did we have this one before us before? I don't think so.
I remember a lot being subdivided, unless it's
The
separate.
different, that's the one you referenced.
Yeah, you're thinking of a different one. Los
Okay.
Pinars hasn't been before you. Planning Commission approved it in 2013, 2016, and it got extended.
Why did
that
it get
was-
extended?
Construction takes a long time in
Okay.
California, yeah. It's a large development, so they're single family, they have the apartments, and it's medium density, and it's this wide variety of housing types within this larger project area. And so, being that it is large, it does take a while to build these sort of phased developments. They don't happen in 2 years. They do take a while. Look at west of Fairview, that subdivision has been approved since 2007. The map was approved, and we're still building it.
So what would be the next time this project would be in front of us, if any?
You will not see it again. They
So it's
will
already
hopefully-
approved. This is
the
just...
apartments are, the whole thing is approved.
Oh, okay.
The apartments are the last phase of this project.
And it's only because of the lot line adjustment.
So you're only seeing it today because they're requesting a parcel map to split it into 4 lots. In most cities, it is done at staff level, and Holster, it's done at the planning commission. So that might be why it's a little confusing.
I did go past by it just to visual. And I'm just curious, the neighborhood was aware before and
Oh, yes. This is an old project. Yeah.
just that traffic over there right on Nash Road by the high school. It's a lot of traffic. What if we were not to approve?
They
Did you
can
have,
still build the apartments.
they're still gonna build,
Yeah.
go forward.
Yeah.
So it's,
But again, we do need apartments in the city. We have a lack.
I don't see why we wouldn't approve personally.
Yeah, we have a lack
Just
of
a question?
apartments. This provides some much needed housing. It's identified in our housing element as a site we want built. It's in our pipeline projects. So it's not a project we want to discourage. It's been on the radar for over 13 years at this point. And it's really just allowing them to get financing to build these apartments that we've planned for.
And I would add to advise the commission that this is a ministerial action. It doesn't change any of the approvals. So that's already down the road. So at this point, we would only be looked at as penalizing the developer because they're just trying to create it for a financing
financial.
mechanism, right? So
Yeah, thank you for explaining that. I understand that. The only thing this is prompting is like this whole CEQA mitigation, and it's just outdated information that doesn't seem to address the infrastructure issues we're seeing right now.
So
And it's not specific to this project, it's any
Yeah.
project. And I do agree this would be a great project for the community. But the bigger picture here is like, when will the infrastructure issues be addressed, if not through these projects?
So this project is planned for again. So all of our CEQA documentation acknowledges it. Traffic improvements in the area acknowledge it. It is a known coming soon attraction.
So where
So-
does the math fall off then? Because what we're seeing, congestion and the issues, it just doesn't line up with those being approved outcomes from the study, saying this is the impact that the community is going to be experiencing. I don't think it's in line with what would have been acceptable.
So I think that's a separate conversation we'd have to have about what is CEQA, how do we move forward with older projects, what do we do about traffic in the city? Separating that from this project,
Yeah.
this is a residential project. We have limitations from the state on what we can impose on residential projects and how we can deny projects. Now, this is just the subdivision, but one could infer that denying the subdivision would, in effect, deny this project if they need it for financing. And so I wouldn't recommend that be a reason that we're going to deny it. Any housing development that we deny, we have very specific findings that we have to find, and it's health and safety. And this is an approved project. So I want to separate this one from maybe one that you would see, down the road. And within that project, it's easier to discuss what are the direct impacts of that project, this new project that we are looking at. This project has been planned for. It's
Yeah.
known.
Yeah,
I
and-
propose a study session separate from these projects.
Yeah, I
Just to
agree.
understand the infrastructure issues.
100%. I mean, I totally agree with you, Commissioner. I mean, it's, to me, it's hard to, like, to what Erica was mentioning, any infrastructure issues, regardless of the developer or the development, is technically an issue that pertains to the city council and addressing through their budgetary process and, all the things that are necessary to address it, right? Yes, and I'm totally on your side. I mean, I'm as frustrated as I live in the street where the school literally locks me in when kids get dropped off and kids get picked up. But separate to the point, there's nothing we're tasked with addressing the zoning, the code, and ultimately making sure that there's the public safety element, right? But all that's supposed to be considered in city staff. So outside of that, I mean, maybe we should have a conversation about what that means to address it. But the development itself, it's hard to apply it to, especially, I do believe there are rules actually that say we can't necessarily penalize a developer for any kind of infrastructure issues, or, that's something that has to be addressed at the county or city level.
But I would even say like we can get a little bit more information because
We should
I'm-
understand. for
Yeah,
sure.
because I'm with you too. Like we're not saying we don't understand that it was approved. That's out of our hands, whatever, and it's going to happen. But what was the plan when it was approved for the traffic mitigation? What was the plan to think of sewer? Like, was there a plan? And if not, why not? And so if there wasn't that plan, here we are. We're just like rubber stamping. Then
And
why are we here?
Honestly, my understanding is because of the state burdens, the unfunded mandates, you're literally having a lot more deferred maintenance. I keep hearing about things like, cockroach abatements, things like that being deferred down the road. It will come back to bite us, but that's, that's something that needs to be addressed, but it's separate from the project itself, I would imagine.
I mean, can we, I'm not going to say we can't deny, but can we ask for more information? Or?
Should. I think information element.
On this one, because we need to separate this one from what you're talking about, okay?
Yeah, on this
So
one.
for this one, it's a map of an approved project.
Yep.
Right.
There's nothing you can change at this point. You would be
No,
denying.
we're not changing the map
You would
of that.
be denying a map. If we were denied this map, you're denying a map of an approved project that meets code, and I would not
We're
recommend.
not denying.
Yeah.
What I asked my fellow commissioners was if we can get more information.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
So
I
what-
said not deny.
So what I think I'm hearing is that you would like a study session separate from this issue. They're their own issue. They have to be on their own here. Separate from this issue is a discussion of CEQA and infrastructure and what we do in this city to plan for improvements for projects. That's for the future.
Yes, and I still want to understand this. I do. I still want to understand it a little further of like what
Are you
was
talking about this, the project?
this the project? Yeah, the traffic plan. I know that it's
God.
already a go, but when people move in, what's going to happen?
So
What's the pedestrian walkway understanding? What's the traffic mitigation? Was there a plan?
But the map doesn't trigger the improvement. The apartment's already approved. So the plan for how we were going to mitigate it has already been approved by the planning commission.
I understand.
And that's in effect. They have to follow the mitigation measures. They pay into the traffic impact fee. They have to abide by everything in that mitigation, the mitigations in that plan. There is nothing that changes with this map or not.
In the study session, would you be able to reference past projects
We can go over
to
some
help
past,
understand,
yeah.
including?
If there's some past projects you'd like us to give you more information on, we can for sure do that.
I
Let
think you
us
would still
know.
get what you're after,
Yeah.
just
May
by
I-
separating it from this and just understanding the whole process in general.
Chair,
But I
may
think she's-
may I make a suggestion? I would ask the commission to take an action on this item separately, and then when we get to the staff and commissioner reports at the
Right.
end,
Then we'll ask for
that
that.
we discuss the
For sure.
study session a little bit more in depth in that section, please.
We could do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are you all ready for, to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve this project per staff recommendation.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
aye for option one, if we didn't clarify.
Oh, you didn't clarify, yes. Do you want to go ahead and clarify which one are you making a motion for?
Well, it's,
1, 2, 3, or 4?
to approve the project, I said.
Okay.
Approving the minor subdivision.
Yeah,
request.
the recommended, the staff recommendation, like I mentioned.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
I'm going to abstain on this one. I don't feel comfortable. Yeah. So it's 2,
So it dies for lack of majority.
Yeah, it does.
That's not a positive move by the commission.
that's fine, but we have a vote, and this is why we're here,
Yeah.
right?
But there are no grounds to deny the minor subdivision request.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, the chair has every right to say no. Otherwise, it's, yeah.
Exactly.
And I'm not,
We have to have some sort of action. So it's
Yeah.
either to approve or to deny.
yeah, so there was 2 yeses.
There's 2 yeses. You got your majority.
So
No,
let's,
it's
so
gotta
let's
be
call
3.
for a second motion.
So I guess we have to bring it
I'll
back.
call for a second motion.
Yeah.
Because you didn't like my vote?
No, because we have to have
We have to have
3
a,
votes.
we have to have a definitive vote.
It is. It said no, basically.
You want me to say no?
Understand.
You're gonna have to go for.
Oh, that's
make
fine.
a
I'll say no.
recommendation For no, yeah.
Oh, instead
That's
of
fine.
abstaining.
Oh, that's fine.
Oh,
I'll
got
say
it.
no. And then you have your 2 to 1.
Okay, I'll make a
Still doesn't go
motion
anywhere.
for option one.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Motion carries. Okay,
I'm gonna check our code real quick, but I think the motion doesn't carry, it dies. Without three in any direction.
it will still go forward to the city council. Right.
Yeah, it goes back to the council at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But I do disagree with the ministerial element because I think that in and of itself is going to create confusion. It kind of fast tracks things and it doesn't allow for, I mean, ultimately proper vetting, which I get it. The state wants fast tracking, but there's collateral damage at the local level when we fast track things.
Are we able to move forward, or do we have to do something with this one?
We're checking
I'm
on something,
checking.
one
Okay.
second.
So it doesn't say anything.
And I haven't met you, Mr.
Jeff Creshrew,
Kreshrud. Nice
Yeah.
to meet you.
It's French, right?
Okay.
yes.
And you are the,
Well, my regular job is airport director.
uh-huh,
I've picked up acting planning director
okay.
as a
Okay, so you're the acting planning
Yeah.
director.
two hats.
for a while.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you. I was not aware.
I'm gonna defer to Daisy, because I don't see anything in the code.
I believe it just dies, but I'm just confirming right now.
Okay.
So we'll wait.
Mm.
Yeah. they can defer decision-making authority to council.
So they can make a request for it that way. Okay. I asked them.
What's his hat? Oh. What's the plan? Okay.
They were both to adopt, but they said yes, she said no.
Okay.
So it's still a 2-1, yeah.
Okay. Chair, let's go ahead and move to the next item.
Okay.
This just dies for lack of having a 3-0 vote. So at this point, they'll have to ask for.
I don't think we want to, I think the applicant's here and would like some, so we can wait for, see what Daisy says, or you can defer your decision-making authority to the city council.
Did you want to give the applicant,
Yeah, do you
are
wanna
you
give him a
saying,
chance?
yeah, that's fine, yeah.
I think you have to open the public hearing.
Oh, let's go ahead and open the public hearing back up at 6:24 PM.
Just hoping to have dinner.
Good evening. My name's Al Vyas. I represent Vyas and Associates. We've owned this property for a little over 20 years. And just to give you some background, we were before you because of we had to get an extension. And just to refresh your memory, Peter and you and I had a real long conversation at the community center when we all got together on my project. And the only reason we're here is because of the building department. You know, every time we were ready to pull permits, we had financing in place, they moved the goalpost. And I mean, I think you guys are well aware of this. I don't want to go and rehash everything. I'm not trying to talk bad about anybody. But at the end of the day, all this is, just so you know, and if you need time to do that, then you're going to have to do what you have to do. But the project is going to go forward. But the difference is the financing. When you're trying to go finance 2 parcels instead of 4, obviously, let's just use round numbers. If you had to borrow $5 million, you have to borrow 10. Which one's easier to get? Which one is more attractive to a bank? So in this case, obviously, it'd be easier to borrow 4 or 5 million instead of 9 or 10 million. So that's why we're doing the lot line adjustments. Nothing in the subdivision changes. You can't take it away. No one can take it away. You can say no to this tonight, but that's all this is about. So we, as you have admitted in your last or previous meetings, we've seen that there's a lot of changes being made because of how things were handled in the city. And that's the only reason we're here tonight, is because of how things have been handled for 15 years on this project. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? All right.
My name is Steve Spida. I never expected to be here tonight. And I live in the immediate area, as some of you. And I trying to understand the process here, okay? I'm a businessman, a contractor, low voltage contractor, and I'm here caring for my mom now after 50 years, okay? And I've seen all the changes in Hollister. I was born and raised here. So I get a thing in the mail a few days ago, I think. The mail isn't real efficient here in Hollister, I guess. And I look at this thing and I see what it is. And I know what it is because I see the map. I didn't have to read it or anything, okay? So I saw the instructions to come on down and voice my opinion. How does a project get this far with all the issues in Hollister? And I understand the gentleman's problem as a businessman, but it's been 13 years. Things have changed. That road has got busier, okay? As an outside observer, it got busier because my mom at 93 years old can't walk around the block anymore. Too much traffic, too many cars, too many in and out, okay? The Gold's Gym, the parking lot for Gold's Gym is in front of our house, down the street, up and down Cushman. Yeah, so, you know, if this project is Great. I don't want to be anybody's thorn in their side. Sorry. But at the same time, were the residents in that area really considered? That area that we live in is Severance and Track, okay? When I was growing up 50 years ago, no locks on the doors or nothing, right? The communities that were upscale were out in the hills, Sunny Slope and all that, right? Hollister was already growing 50 years ago, okay? But then it had one place it grew, was Severance and Track. Flowers and Severance and K&S Market and all this stuff, right? Great. But now, Severance and Track isn't what it used to be anymore, you know? It's got traffic and little apps that where you try to find the best route out of town and Hollister, you know, it weaves you in and out of some of the streets, whatever. But the problem is nothing has ever been addressed in 50 years with the growth of Nash Road, the main drag downtown, one-way street now, then through Nash Road, and you got Highway 25 wonderful. It's about time to have something that addresses traffic in Hollister. But what do they do about the local streets? Not a darn thing. So I'm just curious of how it gets to this point, and I don't see anybody else here that represents the community immediately right there, right across the street in the Gold's parking lot. Okay, so something to think about. Right on. If I had my way, to be honest, I'd suggest do something else with the property. Less traffic. You got a new school going in down the street on Nash Road. More traffic.
Thank you, sir.
People.
Thank you so much. It's okay. Thank you. No, you're representing your community. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Okay, so yes.
So it's up to the commission. You guys made a vote. You can move on to the next item. If you want to reconsider, someone in the majority of the voting, yes, can make a motion to reconsider the item and then make a motion for whatever you're choosing to vote for.
Okay, let's go ahead and, you can make a motion to reconsider the vote.
Motion to reconsider the vote.
Second.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Oh, we gotta close it here.
Sorry, I didn't see you. I was over here.
No problem. I just want to point out or clarify that when this project was approved, it was conditioned. It went through CEQA. It was given things to do, obligations, one of which was build half of Cushman Road, which was done. It was widened, there was curb gutter sidewalk put in, underground electrical poles. I mean, this is not a project that didn't have obligations. Those conditions have been met. All the public improvements were met several years ago. And I understand maybe not everybody's happy with the conditions that were placed on it at the time, but it went through a process. It came to a public meeting and it has built those public improvements that were required. So that I just wanted to clarify that did happen. This wasn't something that happened in a vacuum. This is the last step of this project, which has been a long project, and spend quite a bit on public improvements, although it may not be all the public improvements everyone wants. It has built the ones that was required to build. So
Thank you. Thank you for explaining. Okay, we will go ahead and close the public hearing at 6:32.
Can we mention a few things?
Yep.
Can we still have a little discussion or?
That's after you close it. You can have public. you
Oh,
can have-
amongst,
bring it back to the-
yes, sorry.
We closed the public hearing.
I think what we heard, and I can't comment exactly what we heard, but to my earlier point, I understand the studies were done and the measures were mitigated, right? But it's just what was done on paper is not matching the reality of today. And that's just my concern,
Right.
not particular to this project. And this project, even whatever results from today, is still going to move forward.
Yeah.
But I think we should address this separately from the project.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you have a motion?
Motion to adopt option
Reconsider.
one,
To
reconsider. Yeah.
Second.
Okay, so now we'll go ahead and make the motion to
Option one.
option one. Okay. And that's what, okay. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So I'm gonna, let me backtrack. I think it's important that we're up here because we're representing our community. And so whatever we vote is what we will vote for. And so I don't think that it's appropriate for anyone to question that. And sometimes it's because we don't have information or we didn't understand, which was in my case. And so I appreciate the people that came up to explain, because then it's like, oh, okay, it's, you know, and I know you all presented your report, but sometimes there needs to be more clarification. And so I think that is why I feel okay agreeing and saying yes. So motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I said yes. Next, let's go to 6.2, a resolution determining that the proposed vacation of right-of-way of a portion of Nash Road is in the conformity within the City of Hollister 2040 General Plan, and that the proposed vacation does not meet the definition of a project. Can we hear the report, please?
Go to the next one. Does not want to work today. The item before you is the vacation of a portion of Nash Road. It's shown in the light blue line on the map before you. The area is currently closed to through traffic. Next slide, please. The San Benito High School District has requested that the city vacate its right-of-way over that portion of Nash Road. It's between that portion on Nash Road. The city council previously approved the temporary closure of that area, and it has since been closed and continues to be closed to this day for health and safety. And it's to allow the children at the high school campus to travel between the two portions of the campus. It's split by Nash Road. The district would like to make this temporary closure permanent, and the city council has previously reviewed this idea and directed staff to take it through the required process. And the district will compensate the city for the vacation. Next slide, please. This is before you due to the requirements of the government code. The government code for any vacation of right-of-way requires that vacation go before the planning commission, and the planning commission is required to make a determination of the proposed vacation's consistency with the general plan. The closure of this area of the road would meet the goals and policies of the general plan, because it would allow for a safe path of travel across that road for the students of the high school. And there are several goals and policies that speak to safe pedestrian access, safe travel to schools, et cetera. And this would meet all those goals of the 2040 general plan. With this determination, the determination is not a project, so it would not be subject to CEQA. But again, the city council has reviewed it and directed this process forward, and it is closed right now. This would just become permanent. Next slide, please. So there are, on this case, 3 recommended options. One is to determine that the proposed vacation is in conformity with the 2040 general plan. The second would be to adopt a resolution determining that it is not in conformity with the general plan. And the third would be to continue the hearing. Staff is recommending that you adopt a resolution determining that it does comply with the 2040 general plan.
Thank you. Are there questions, comments?
I definitely have a question. I mean, remind me, but I believe part of the mitigation of the safety is access to those gates from the fire department, right, in an emergency, because they need like an easy path, right, of travel instead of going around. I'm trying to remember.
That is correct, and the gates have an electronic device on there
That's
that
what I
provides
remembered. I was faintly
so-
remembering that, yeah.
the school district provided us a nice support letter to the item, to your agenda item, and it's specified in there that that's the case.
That was my only question.
Okay, should we open to public hearing? 6:38 p.m.
De La Vera?
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. If I can ask for 30 seconds as we start to talk about something that I think is absolutely more important is kind of the situation we just ran into. You as a commission deserve to have a city attorney here every time you have a meeting. I sat there for 25 years, and right here, there was always a city attorney to make sure that you don't have to ask Daisy to make a phone call, right? It should be smooth operating. So please ask your council and city manager to make sure that you have somebody available. And probably not by Zoom, I would suggest. I don't know how you guys feel, and I don't mean to step on your toes there.
I disagree, but we can move on to.
Okay.
It's public comment. We could talk about it. I think we should talk about it
Yeah.
after.
You guys could have your study session in this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It won't be the first time you and I have disagreed, Peter.
yeah, 100%.
Okay.
We can talk about the line.
Yeah. And so also moving on now to the vacation, I had a conversation real quick with Sean, and he said that we have a new traffic study that went through and everybody seems to be happy with that. I am not here to throw a wrench in this boat. Absolutely understand the child's safety. My daughter went there. I think Carson's, everybody's been down there and knows that, especially during evening time activities, sports, going back and forth across the street is very dangerous for the students that are there. So I'm not here to say anything, but I do want to just point out again about a city attorney type thing is that in our municipal code, and I got hemmed up on this once when we were doing Walgreens, is that we have a process in the city to dispose of real property. And we are not using streets and highway code in order to do that. So I just want to make sure that the city attorney and staff and everybody else is super comfortable with the way we're going about this process. Not that I don't want to stand in the way. There's always a way to get to where you want to be. I just want to make sure we're doing it the right way. We ask everybody else to follow procedure. We should be doing it too. That's it.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Sean Tenenbaum.
Thank you, Daisy. Well, good evening, Commissioners. Nice to come before you. I want to thank staff for their support on this particular project. I also want to thank the city itself. And we have many members who have contributed to us getting here tonight before you in terms of the amount of work that has gone on. And I know Peter knows that in terms of the background. Former council member Carson Clower, and so many folks have really contributed to this. I can answer any questions, but for the health and safety of our school community and everybody around, we are requesting a permanent closure, which was the intended goal all along of the interagency cooperation agreement. And just to answer Peter's question, yes, HFD, Hollister Fire, does have the Opticom system, which we provided as part of our mitigation early on. And they're actively using that probably almost every day when they come down with their little sirens and the gates open. So our ultimate goal would be to close it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But we will not be building on that particular property so that we can have access for first responders.
So I imagine you have like safety measures when the Opticom gets triggered and there's, right, with kids and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, run. No, but obviously we have campus supervisors. We have everybody, that is alerted to the situation. But we can't tell time of day, Peter. So for example, with 3,400 students and it's lunchtime, the Student Union Cafeteria, which is our 35th project, which was built right next to Nash Road, which was the goal, we may have a large congregation. So, it may take us a minute or two to really try to, disperse our student body. But we've become efficient at it. And we have great partnership with the fire department.
Thank you. Are there more questions?
No, that was my main question about if it was going to be converted to not be a road. But
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. And we'll close the public hearing at 6:42. Do we have any more question, comments, or motion?
I guess the only question to staff is, does it comply with all the regulations that are subject to this project?
Yes, so this is a vacation of a right-of-way. It's not a property purchase, so it's a little bit different. And the pathway forward went through the city attorney's office.
Okay. And it is going to be safer too. Okay, a motion? Do we have a motion?
I move to adopt item 6.2, determining the proposed vacation of right-of-way of a portion of Rashford Road and conforming with City Hall general plan vacation. And that proposed vacation does not meet the definition of the project. As per staff recommendation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Motion passes. Thank you. Next item, 6.3, a resolution recommending city council approval of a zoning ordinance amendment to repeal and replace chapter 17.32.
I'll try this one more time and see if it works. It worked, yay. The existing accessory dwelling unit ordinance is located within the zoning ordinance. It's chapter 17.32. And we amended it in 2023 to be consistent with state law up to that point. Since 2023, as you can see in the staff report, a number of bills have been signed into law by the governor, which changes how we can regulate ADUs. And this is a requirement. It's not an option, any of these rules. Our ordinance isn't consistent with state law at this point, so staff is required to follow state law, which leads to some confusion. And HCD is requiring us to update our ordinance, so we are bringing you the updated ordinance tonight. And then it stopped working. Next slide, please. So just a very brief summary of all those bills that are listed in your staff report. Owner occupancy is only required if in a junior accessory dwelling unit you share sanitation facilities between the house and the JADU. JADUs can share the bathroom with the existing house. So there's a door into the house to allow them to use the bathroom. Only in that case does owner occupancy come into effect. Otherwise, it's waived. The definition of JADUs has been modified by the state. The state expanded HCD's authority. There is further clarification on the waiver of impact fees. There's modifications on how staff can process reviews and then approve ADUs, timelines, and information that we're required to have. There are now state mandated ADUs, and if a ADU complies within those state mandated requirements, the city has little oversight on them. There's requirements for amnesty of ADUs built before 2020. And the state now authorizes up to 8 detached ADUs for multifamily developments. Multifamily development does not have anything to do with the zoning district that they are in. It is only applies to properties where there are attached primary dwelling units. So a duplex, an apartment complex, condominium complex, attached units. And the location of the ADU laws were moved within the government code. So they have a new location now. Next slide, please. Staff is proposing a number of modifications, and I'm just going to briefly go over them because we are repealing and replacing the ordinance. There is just too many changes that we had to make that showing it to you in a red line would have looked a little crazy. And also, in addition to some of the required changes, we've added some additional information in to make it easier for the public to understand the ADU laws, and also some information that HCD has been asking cities to include within their ordinance. So trying to get it as up to date as possible. So the purpose section of the ordinance, the very first thing that you read, was modified to comply with all the amendments that I just went over. It goes over the requirements. It changed the government code section that we're referring to. Definitions, the definition section was modified several times to comply with the new definitions in the government code, and also to add some definitions to provide clarity. Sometimes it does get a little confusing for new staff and for the public. This is a very intense law. And so we've added some definitions to really clarify what certain things are that apply in this code. One of the biggest changes with the most recent update is that single family properties can now have up to 3 accessory dwelling units. They get 1 conversion, which is a conversion of space either within your house, within an existing structure you might have on your property, like if you had a barn or a shed. Obviously, you have to bring it up to help to make it livable. So you do get one conversion, you get one junior accessory dwelling unit, and that is a specific type of ADU that's located within your garage, and it's limited to 500 square feet. And you get one detached accessory dwelling unit. So that could be wherever it may be on your property. Again, multifamilies, the law has also significantly changed here. Multifamily properties may now have a minimum of 2 accessory dwelling units and up to 8 accessory dwelling units. They can be attached together, they can be separate, they can be wherever they are on a lot, but they get up to 8 detached as long as that max number that they're hitting is no more than the number of units on the site. And what that means is if there's a 4-plex, no, they don't get to build 8 ADUs, they're limited to 4. If there's 100 apartments on the site, they don't get to build 100 ADUs, they're limited to 8, but they do get a minimum of 2. They also get conversion of existing unlivable space. So the conversion of a laundry room, a rec room, a boiler room, anything within the interior of the building, they do get conversion, and that's capped at 25% of the total number of units on the site. So they get a combination of conversions and conversion and separate ADUs. Next slide, please. Whatever conversion. State law, again, is now exempting the city from certain regulations. In the ordinance, I'm referencing them as section 66323 ADUs, and really what they are is state exempt ADUs. We cannot impose certain standards on them as long as they're up to a certain size. They get to waive some of the requirements that we have, so design guidelines wouldn't apply to them, and some other regulations. You don't get to have, one state exempt detached ADU and then other ADU that complies with our other requirements, because there's another section in it. You just get one, but if you go with the state exempt, there are fewer regulations we can impose on them. Again, we added with this new state exempt, we added a new section to clarify what the rules are for non-state exempt. Typically, we do see ADUs that are at 750 square feet. They're doing it to avoid impact fees, so they'll most likely be the exempt ADUs. Next slide, please. The approval procedures were modified. We now have specific deadlines that have changed. One of the major ones is where staff used to have 30 calendar days to review an ADU for completeness. We now have 15 business days, so it shrunk that window. And then once that completeness review period is over, we have specific deadlines on approval if it was complete. And those are all in the ordinance now. We added a section on building and safety. We added a section on impact fees, and again, any ADU under 750 square feet or less, we cannot charge an impact fee. Once you go over that, so 751 square feet or more, the impact fee is proportional, and it gets a proportional charge. So it doesn't automatically kick in a full unit fee. It's proportional based on the square footage of the unit and the square footage of the house, and the building official determines that. And then lastly, we added a non-conforming zoning code conditions. There are a number of requirements that we are required to follow for ADUs that were built that do not conform to code. If they were built before 2020, we have to allow them to go through a process to legalize them. There's an exception for an existing structure on the property. If it doesn't meet proper setbacks, but they're converting it to an ADU, that structure gets to remain as is. They don't have to move the structure or cut it back to conform to setbacks. So that's codified in the code now. Next slide, please. I know this is a lot of information. But we last modified this in 2023. And again, just a number of changes have occurred since then. Staff with the general plan and housing element has had a hard time working on this, and we were about to come to you, and then right as we were about to come, the state changed the law again. So hopefully we're gonna not have too many changes in the next year. Again, with the number of changes and additions, we're just proposing to rescind the existing and replace, just so we don't just for clarity in the ordinance before you, otherwise it would be quite confusing. Next slide, please. You do have 3 options here. You are making a recommendation to the city council. It is an ordinance. The city council makes the final determination, but staff is recommending that you do adopt the ordinance, do adopt a resolution recommending approval so that we can move forward with getting an ordinance that complies with state law.
Thank you. Any questions, comments?
lot. Yeah, I mean, it just in general, you asked the question earlier of why local governments have issues with infrastructure. I mean, basically, the state says you have to do it, and you don't have a choice. You know, obviously, it sounds really nice to be able to cut impact fees to the applicant or whatever. Still doesn't change the impacts, right? Their impacts are real regardless. But yeah, and I've read through a lot of those, and all I can think is local authorities literally shrinking, because you really are having less and less of a voice of what happens in the process. And now these things are considered more ministerial, which means we're volunteers, but we're up here basically almost wasting our time because we don't even have a voice anyways. Just my two thoughts, but I understand the amendments. I mean, besides improving them, I don't know. Because all we're doing is adopting
The changes.
right, to change the code.
Does this impact any existing applicants?
No, because we do have to follow state law right now. So the risk here is that HCD has put us on notification that we have to fix it or repeal it. And if we repeal it, we lose some of the oversight we do have right now. We wouldn't be able to require a permit anymore. That's important because we do have a number of ADUs that come in and require staff work. So we know they're there, number 2. Number 3, sometimes when they come in, we find they have other illegal ADUs on the property. So we could lose our ability to, we would lose if we had to repeal, we would lose our ability to require a permit from planning. And then secondly, it would be much more hard for everyone to understand it. Even when I read the government code, it's not the easiest to understand. And thirdly, we do have some requirements that were option for us where we could limit sizes, where we can impose some design requirements. We would lose all the ability to have any of those if we didn't have an ordinance.
I mean, in theory, I appreciate the sentiment with the ADU, because I know that if you go to like the west side of Hollister or even the east side, Salinas, you see one house in like 6 or 8 cars. It's because more people takes 2 to 3 families to afford a mortgage now, right? Especially lower income and disproportionately impacted. So the sentiment of an ADU, but by default, that means one is, we're approving a lot more density. Density has impacts, whether we like it or not. Density is going to create a level of impacts that the infrastructure is not going to be much fun. It's just not possible. That's why I firmly believe we should have the authority to amend these processes so that we actually understand the impact, budget for it, and plan for it. All that's going away.
Any other question, comment? And then we have to open public hearing. No? Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and open public hearing at 6:56. Is there any public comment?
There is no public comment.
Okay, then we'll go ahead and close at 6:57 p.m. And do we have any further discussion, question, and or motion?
I think this is part of the conversation that we're gonna have at the end. So yeah.
Yep. So do we have a motion then?
Motion to adopt the resolution recommending city council approval of amendments to the zoning ordinance to repeal and replace chapter 17.32 accessory dwelling units with a new chapter 17.32 attached as exhibit A.
For the sake of not complicated life for staff.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? No. Motion passes. Item number 7, informational reports, brief reports. So let's go to 7.1. Do we have any planning commissioner reports? Or even this would be our opportunity then to.
That's basically what we were talking about. We can have that conversation about the infrastructure, the impacts, us being educated on this process, personally, I think it's a good idea. I get it. Staff is limited and it's only getting worse because the budget's being more restricted, right? I totally understand. Still creates a very, I think, ambiguous and maybe even puts us in a tougher position to make good decisions when there's not an educational process. I mean, I'm used to on the board, right, on board of supervisors, having an agenda review, having my own questions. I'll review it myself. I'll sit down with staff. They, any questions, I might be completely off base, but they guide me right back on, right? And at that point, it's very easy for me to walk in confidently into the meeting, knowing what to expect. Any questions were already prior answered. Actually, it simplifies the agenda at that point, because unless there's any further questions or comments, then by default, that means I'm either approving it or denying, right? Whatever the item in front of us is. That's specific to that. But my other quick point that I wanted to make is what Bill Rivera had mentioned, which I completely disagree. I get the city attorney sounds nice, right? Because of the legal, there's legal requirements. I get it. I 100% agree. One, we're an advisory body. But two, I found myself, just my personal experience, and I've seen this happen more often than not with the city attorney, where it almost sounded like she was a sixth board member up here basically litigating the process instead of actually just becoming more informational. Almost, and we were debating Brown Act rules, and I was like, yeah, that's not true. The fact that I even asked as a simple example for an advisor, basically making a policy recommendation, right? And I just asked a simple question, which I already knew the answer to, was what's the difference between me making a policy recommendation or me as a public citizen just walking up to the podium making my recommendation from the podium? Technically speaking, I have less authority according to the city attorney's comments than someone from the public, which is just mind-blowing, right? At that point, you're going cross-eyed. It makes no sense. But that's the response that I got. So it just made it very, I personally thought, more combative, because we should just get very straight answers based off of questions. That's it. That's not what was happening. And again, the hard part is with that comment is that's assuming that we actually understand the mind of the legal requirements and all that. So we might be duped, right? Not to be overly cynical by what we're being told, because we don't understand the legalities of things as much as she would, or he, or whoever the city attorney would be. That's my point of contention. If there's a question, I think it's going to be less versus more having to do with legal stuff besides the agenda. I think staff is competent enough to address.
May I ask that the commission form these into kind of a report on a request? So I think the report is we're frustrated with infrastructure issues and things and how they relate, and shape that into a form of a request.
I think there was a request there. We're talking about
Yeah.
the study session.
Yeah,
And-
study
and I think we were kind of
Yeah,
all
Yeah.
going to chime in on
because
that.
we didn't specifically agendize an item, so I'm a
Right.
little
Yeah.
concerned how in depth we get. So let's
I
kind
think
of shape it.
I think it's
into-
pretty clear of a request for a study session, but I'll
Yeah, but
defer
I
to
think
you
you would
Yes.
like us to formalize it, right?
to put it as an agenda item for the future.
I think it would be helpful for me if you would formally request that we agendize the study session or
Yeah.
maybe two, or maybe
I-
whatever, but
yeah.
tell me specifically
Yeah.
what you want us to.
Basically,
Well,
we
I
gotta
think-
give direction.
But I think
Right.
I think just a quick, clarification. I think what we've been normally doing is we have this discussion and then we kind of like naturally, okay, here's what we would like, which I think we already are kind of saying this
We'll
study
formalize
session.
it at the end, but I think
Yes.
we need a little bit of discussion to get
Yes.
these ideas out.
Yeah.
I heard two things. The first one is it would be nice to have a walk through some of these projects before we come up here. I think I agree with that, because we may not be fully knowledgeable, and we want to make sure we're the best informed. So formalizing some way to do that, figuring out. The other one I do want to have it separate is because it applies pretty much to all the projects in the city. Is how do we have an updated study or something? It's not just us learning about the infrastructure
Right.
and the process. It's a study on the infrastructure status, potentially by a third party. Because I don't want to, not reduce anybody's efforts, but when you're in approving these projects, you're seeing things on paper, right? My daughter goes to the high school. I'm part of that traffic, and I apologize, but
Right.
I go through Nash and I figure out the shortcuts. But you have to you that's a reality that whatever was an idea on paper years ago, and for one reason or another, the project doesn't come to fruition until like 13 years later. Times have changed. Some plans do not go as planned, right? And the traffic and the infrastructure toll that we have is a clear reflection on that, and that is not being addressed, right? It don't matter if it's a new business or apartments that we need, low-income projects.
Right.
They always dangle the benefits of the community in front of us,
Right.
but at the end of the day, it's just going to add more strain. And I feel like we have to have at least some type of intention to focus on that solely, independent of projects. Just like, what is the status of the infrastructure right now, right? Regardless of what was approved years ago, because that's just on paper. So I feel like our reality is not being represented. And we heard from speakers today and their frustration, and and it's hard because the rules say if this is on paper, a study is stamped as approved, move it forward.
Right.
But what we're seeing, the dangers of all this, happening with the traffic around the school. Yeah. So
I completely agree with both of you on the study session, and also feeling like, yeah, the paper, and we understand, okay, it was approved, and everything you said, the reality doesn't match. And so how do we catch up to
yeah. So I think
15 year ago approved plans?
So I think to start formalizing the request, I would say, one, having a study session for ourselves as a body to understand what it is and what is study, what are the components of it. And then after we walk out from that, maybe form another request, which is how can we get an actual study on the status of the infrastructure of the city?
Is that possible?
So I think what we should do is do one study session where we talk about CEQA. I don't think you've had an actual CEQA document before you in a while, have you? I mean, the EIR for the general plan, but that's so broad, but not project specific in a while, right? So I think what would be helpful if we did one study session that just talks about CEQA. How do we do CEQA? What is the process? So you're more well-informed. And what happens if a project is approved 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago, and now we have a project before us today? How does everything like interplay? The second study session would maybe be a discussion with more than just planning, but it would be a discussion of infrastructure, because I can tell you we have sewer and water, but I cannot like eloquently speak to that language of the engineering department. And so maybe we would have them explain, well, this is how we've taken this information from the CEQA document. This is how we do our traffic impact fees. This is what projects we put into there. This is what projects we require applicants to do, because there's a two-step level. Some projects identified in CEQA are covered under our TIF, and some are required for the applicant to do. Anne spoke of Los Pinars, and they had to build Cushman, so they paid the money and did the work. But sometimes, because there are 20 projects in an area and all 20 projects are going to, let's say, impact an intersection, so each project as they come in pays into this fee, and then once we have enough money, we construct the improvement. So there's different types of methods by which we make, let's say, the improvements in the community.
Because it is a formula, but all I've ever been told in general terms is we never get enough from an actual project to actually cover the impacts. And the laws technically say is you can't technically put all the burden of that impact on this one project, right? Because this has been a cumulative effect.
That is true. You cannot make another project you cannot make an applicant's project pay for, let's say, a project that's coming in the future, unless we're going to pay them back. Or if we approve some projects in error and those projects really created a number of impacts, they are not required to fix the mistake that was made. The city will then have to, through the collection of the overall traffic impact fees, fix those improvements. And I think that this is a better discussion with engineering than it would be with me. I can only give you the basics, but we could do that as a secondary. You've had the foundational understanding of CEQA, which is very complex. And then you have the, how do we get to, what happens if we have no more water? I mean, water is a finite resource. What happens if we hit sewer capacity? How do we plan? You know, we don't want to all of a sudden go over that capacity. How are we checking and making sure that we are under that cap?
I mean, I go ahead. I know you had
I
a
think
thought.
you said the key word. We don't have a cumulative view of the impact of a project because everything is independent
Yeah.
by section. And my concern is we're seeing the greater impact of all these combined. And the CEQA study is not capturing the reality, right? And I understand, and I think the reason it keeps, moving forward is because nobody can carry that burden, not one project. And what we need is a separate cumulative study of what is going on in the city.
And we do that. It is part of the traffic impact fee. It's just that I can't snap my fingers and fund every improvement that we need, but we've identified them. We have roadway plans.
Well,
We
because
have everything that's,
impact fees as they're adopted, they're like only amended every so often, right?
I think we're getting into study sessions, so
Okay, the request.
I know what we're talking about. I think it's
Okay.
2 study sessions, and then from those 2,
Then we'll-
if there's another topic that you want to talk about, you go, Erica, now we got all these housing projects. What's the Housing Accountability Act? We can add discussions.
I think,
That's fine.
study session 1, build a foundation. Study session 2, be a little bit more informed with the next
I mean,
questions.
in my perfect world, I'd love to jot down a study session on the impacts of the state laws that force us to use staff time to do their will over the needs of our own community. Because I can guarantee you, if we can turn that into an actual like bill, an invoice, I'd love to send that to
And
the
it might
state.
lead to that. It might lead, but I think
We're gonna-
if we start
There
just,
is an unfunded mandates commission. I know I'm getting a little in the weeds, but there is unfunded mandates commission where the state of California basically has to answer for any impacts that we can't afford to cover. Because it's at a certain point where, like Erica said, we're underwater.
and that impact right now is kind of hidden too.
100%.
So I think if we're able to uncover the impact and try to address it, label it, define it, maybe the next steps will become more clear.
So 2 requests, 2 study sessions, and then do we want to consider just us or ask if any of our city council
I think it
want
would
to
be
join?
usjust for a joint one, but
Just to let them
We
know?
could,
Offer
we
it.
can see if they'd like to have a joint.
Mhm.
And if not, we can just do it with the planning commission. We could try to schedule it for a regular hearing day, or if we thought it was a light day, we could just do it the same day. We'll kind of see. I know September is going to be a long one, so we
Okay.
wouldn't do it with that.
So maybe October.
And has this commission had a kind of a clarification of like a training on the role of the commission? Because you guys are a technical body and you operate within the purview of making technical findings and then making recommendations as an advisory body on to. So respectfully, I understand how each of you can feel that you're very much aware and very much a part of the community, and there are these points of frustration, but that is separate from the role you play when you are commissioner.
That makes 0 sense.
So, well, you again, it's technical findings and technical recommendations. So I think I'm asking the question, have you guys as a group, have you had a commissioner role training for like what the role of the
that's been clarified to us in the past. And would this study
Yeah, I
session be in
remember.
violation of
They were
that?
like, here's
Well,
your
what I'm
box.
just
You gotta
thinking is
stay
it
there.
might be good for us to have that as part of either study session is like. the
Because we're
role
not
of the
gonna come
commission.
out of that with recommendations. That's just-
Because
we're not.
I respect that you guys have these feelings and you should understand how
not
with
feelings.
the
It's not a
role,
feeling.
how can you carry that out too?
I think if we can move forward with the study sessions.
Yeah,
And
that's- I
then
agree.
if there's an action that we need to take that requires a better understanding of what our abilities or limitations are,
Yeah.
definitely we can do that study.
Okay.
But I think right now, I want to stay focused on just understanding the greater picture here of like,
Right.
what is this and how can we understand it better as the problems that
Yeah.
we
The
hear.
2 study
as we
sessions we
said,
requested.
Yeah, so a CEQA focused, how
Study.
Erica
that takes in the
was-
bigger picture. And then capacity, more of what you
Infrastructure
said, a
focus.
capacity infrastructure.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
study session.
Erica said it well.
Great.
She had it pretty well. And I think we all know our roles and recommendations. We
Yeah.
talked about it at length.
You've been reminded.
Are there any more reports from anyone? Any of the commissioners?
I'm good.
No? Okay, and how about planning division reports? No? Oh, okay. Then I think we're ready to have, I don't think we need one, but a motion, yeah. That's it. Thank you, everyone. Oh, let me do this for fun.
Recording stopped.